Bowyer's Wood 2026, and I'm really excited to be back. We were working very hard here last year, but we've got lots more work to do this year, and at a certain point, the Beavers will be back. I wonder when. Perhaps we'll find out today.
It's the Chris Perkins and Chris Packham show, coming to you live, well not quite live, but from Bowyer's Wood, on one of the wettest, nastiest, muddiest days of the year. And for that reason, the sensible Chris's are undercover. Nice to see you, mate. Happy New Year.
Good to see you too, Chris.
Yes, well, we picked the wrong day, but nevertheless, it's only water. And we will be going out in a minute to get wet, rest assured, of course. But first of all, catch up, Chris. So firstly, should we run through what we've been up to? Let's go Beavers, of course, because we're very excited about that. Now, before Christmas, there was a bit of a delay.
Yep. The problem was engineering the trash grills for the stream because of the soils around here. We had to kind of redesign the screens, and that's the bit where the water goes in or out of the pen.
Yeah, which is an obvious place for a beaver
obvious
to get
place
out.
for a beaver to
we
get
don't
out.
Want that to happen.
Yeah, and the soils here are very soft and plastic, so we kind of had to re-engineer that, and that's delayed the completion of the fence.
Right. So we're still not done on the fence.
The fence is now complete.
Oh, it is?
We're waiting for it to be signed off. And of course the difficult bit is, it should have been signed off earlier. We cannot organise the getting of the beavers until the fence has been signed off, because if we'd have gone with the earlier date, we'd have had them in captivity for 3 months by now. Right. And that really wouldn't be very good for their welfare.
Listen, I'm going to blame Christmas for this, because at Christmas everything stopped. As a consequence of that, it didn't get signed off. But it's going to be signed off soon, and we're hoping to get them in by February at least.
February, early March.
Hold on, it went from February to early March then.
It's unfortunate. It's not, you can't really pop down to the pet shop and get a couple of beavers.
Of course not.
And we've got two choices. Well, it will depend where they come from. We can get a family from Scotland.
Right.
So somewhere where a landholder has complained there's too many beavers or whatever, we can get a whole family from Scotland and put them in there. The alternative is there are people that have got enclosures like this. The beavers are bred and they'll have kits. So what we'll do in that case, we need to find two enclosures, different gene pools, and we'll bring two together.
Right.
So we don't even know which one it will be yet.
So if you're running a beaver dating agency at this point, then we'd be very pleased to hear from you, because getting the right beavers in the right place would be good. Okay, that's the beavers. So look, fingers crossed it gets signed off, and then at some stage, February or early March, we either bring a family from Scotland or some other captive beavers in, and we are very excited about that. But it's not all about beavers here at Bowyer's Wood. We've got other things going on too.
Absolutely. We've been very lucky because of our contacts with Sussex Wildlife Trust to get hold of some very rare black poplars.
We're excited about this. Have you ever seen a black poplar? I'm not talking about a Ford poplar, you know, from the 1950s or whenever it was. We're talking about a tree of some distinction. They are very rare, aren't they?
They are, and these are trees that were in, Constable's paintings.
Yeah.
They were quite well known. I can't remember the exact numbers. There's something like 130 left in the wild, and 10% of them are female or 10% are male. I can't remember which way around it goes. Yeah. So there's a breeding program to develop new stock, and if you're very lucky, if you know the right people, you can get hold of some. So we'll put some on the open ground in the beaver pen.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking though, and you know what people are thinking, that we're going to be feeding the beavers one of the most exclusive and rare trees in the world, which would be great for our beavers, of course. They're very special, but we don't want that, so we are going to fence them off so the beavers cannot nibble the bark of the poplar.
And in fact, if anyone's done any tree planting, you'll have seen these little plastic guards you use.
Yeah.
We use the equivalent of tanks.
Yes.
Cactus guards, which are steel guards with spikes on them.
Yeah.
Because when the beavers get a sniff of the black poplar.
The black poplar.
It'll be.
I'm like that with chocolate vegan ice cream, to be quite honest with you, Chris. It needs a cactus guard around it to keep me away from it. So that's good. So we've got those, and also keep the deer off of them as well. So black poplars are really good. But we've also been doing, plant surveys as well, because the baseline surveys, knowing what we've got here, we need to know what we've got, so we know what we've added. And we're going to be very excited about that, of course, as that list builds up. But the plant survey's going really well.
Plant survey is going pretty well, and I think the important thing is we've got the woodland management plan in now, because before we've just got 100 hectares of wood, and there are two levels of surveying. You can survey to count everything, or you can survey and say, what outcome do we want in that compartment? But until you've written a woodland management plan, you can't actually say, what do we want to survey here? What have we got here? What do we want to dominate here? What do we want to get rid of here? So we've now reached the point, we've got sort of general level surveys. We'll have some bird surveys in spring and summer.
Bats as well.
Bats. We've had a fungus survey. So
turned up some new species not seen on the site before, so that was good.
We had, off the top of my head, 930 species, and they found 25 species, 930 species of everything, not just fungi. And they've turned up 25 species which are not on the list, haven't actually been surveyed in this wood before.
Yeah, good.
So that's where the surveys will now start accelerating, and instead of just collecting general data, we can now see, it will now inform us how we manage compartments.
And we're working obviously with our raptors. We've got the raptor poles up. We put up a couple of nest boxes. More nest boxes to come. So Jimmy Hill's going to be coming down, putting up more nest boxes.
Jimmy's coming down, yes.
Yeah, can't have enough of that. And then the poles as well have been really productive. So we're going to be doing a survey of the raptors here again to see what's once they've now taken advantage of those resources. Remember, one of the reasons we put the poles up is because it makes it easier to spot the birds, basically. Cunning ploy for surveying work, so we'll be cracking on with that. So it's exciting times. I mean, it's tempting to think, Chris, that it's the middle of winter, it's wet and muddy, not much is happening, but behind the scenes, woodland management plans, signing off the enclosures, plotting and scheming to get the right beavers in the right place at the right time, and survey work continues, basically.
And the black poplar. And we're also thinking of bringing in some aspen as well.
Yeah.
So there's a wood that Steve Jones, some of our regular watchers might know.
Yeah.
He manages that, and that's got an awful lot of aspen suckers in it. So we're also going to try and bring some aspen in.
I like aspen. It's a majestic tree. You might have to look it up actually, because we generally know our oaks and our Scots pine and our sycamores and our beeches, but aspen is a tree that you don't see in the environment as much as you used to. And I remember one giant aspen which used to grow in a place called Decoy Wood when I was a kid, and it was just the most magnificent tree. So when they reach maturity, they're very, very special. It'd be great to get some of those here.
And the other thing is the autumn colour on them.
Yeah.
You see it
Gorgeous.
more in America than here.
Yeah.
But in America they'll have maybe, or Canada, 200 or 300 hectares, and each tree will go red or gold or yellow. As a landscape, we'll never get to that level of landscape feature. But as a tree, they are just absolutely beautiful, as well as being
Stunning.
very, very useful for biodiversity.
The one thing about them we ought to add, though, is that beavers do like them, and these are we will let the beavers eat the aspen, because one of the other things they do is they sprout through the suckers that you've mentioned under the ground, and when the beaver nibbles them off, they regrow very rapidly. So again, they're a beautiful tree, but also top munchies for the beavers, which is good.
And we're actually sort of adding to that process. So in the beaver enclosure here, there's lots of regeneration in trees. They'll go through that, that'll coppice. And if the beavers didn't work in that way so that the trees coppice, they'd just starve to death.
Yeah.
But they're actually part of that whole mechanism of eating the trees down, letting the shoots come back, and then there's next year's lunch.
Yeah.
And we're just kind of accelerating that a bit more with the aspen over in the open ground in the beaver enclosure.
Yeah. Perfect. So look, everything's busy at Bowyer's Wood. Lots of work being done here in preparation for the spring, and it's only being done thanks to your generous support of Ecotalk. Every text, every message, every word that you speak is putting nature firmly back on the map in this part of Sussex. Thank you very, very much indeed. And just get your friends on board, because we want more black poplars, frankly, and the more people that are on board with Ecotalk, the more poplars we're going to get, the more poplar we'll be, and the more poplars we'll get. That's very poplar. Chris, let's get out of here. I've started talking rubbish.